In this video, we're going to talk about JavaScript objects, just a few basics. And there's a little section here in the JavaScript methods, arrays, and objects. So this is the basic information we're going to do. And we'll start off in our console. So remember that we create arrays like this. And then you access individual parts of the array with the square brackets, and it starts counting from 0, and then we have the length. Alright, so that's what we used with arrays, and then we could change the things in there. So I put the first item being 1 rather than hello. Now objects you can think of as like arrays, but instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. for the index, we can put names in there. So I can make var y equals first Jeff, last Kenny, age, Alright, syntax error. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so there's curly braces to say that I'm making a new object, not a new array, it's an object. So I have the curly braces, and then I have a string that's a name, and then I have some value. And you can see I have a string value for my first, a string value for my last, and a number for my age. So now if I do y bracket first, that's Jeff. Y bracket last, that's Kenny. And I can also do it like y dot first, y dot last, y dot age. Then this dot way of doing it is similar to the way we did. So this was x dot length. So there was a part of the x array called length. Now we have parts of the y object called first, last, and age. And I could change y dot first equals Harry. So now y dot first is Harry instead. I could add new items, so y dot length equals 67. So now if I look at y, there's an extra field in there. I could also do color. So now I can do y dot color, y bracket color. So that's the basic. Basics number 1 is we can have named parts of the variable. So we have the first, the last, the age, and the length. We can update them. We can access them either with the square brackets, kind of like an array, or with the dot. So let's do an example. And the first example we'll do, alright, so the first example we'll do is a person. And let's say that I want to run this like person.js, first name, last name, age, favorite color. And then perhaps I want the program to say hello for Mr. or Mrs. Last. I can't believe you are age. Favorite color is my favorite color too. Alright, suppose we want to run it like that. Now we could do this with regular variables, but I'll show how we can do it with objects. So first I'm going to check if process.argv is large enough. So if it's less than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then we don't have enough. Process.exit, and you would put a message of some kind. Okay, so now I'm going to have a function create person, and I'm going to create that person from the process.argv array. So, all right, I want to create a new object, and the way that I do that is var p equals, all right, and I'm going to have a first and a last and an age and a color. Okay, and if they typed it correctly, then this would argv bracket 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And then I'll just return P. Now my main program, I could have var x equals create person. And just to make sure we're okay, let's just print x. Okay, there's this process.argv is actually a global variable, so we need to pass it in. We'll call it arguments. Inside of the function, we don't have global variables unless we declare them, but I'll do it like this. All right, let's pause. Actually, okay, so the process.argv, maybe you noticed this, we need to check the length here. So if I run it like this, then I don't have enough arguments. I'm supposed to do node person Jeff Kinney 20 blue. So there's Jeff Kinney 20 blue, and let's just confirm whether what I said there was correct or not. argv bracket 2. All right, so either way actually would have worked there. We'll leave it like this. All right, so now I have my main where I create my person. Now let's say I want to greet the person. And there's some person object coming in. So I would say log hello plus p dot first. Or no, I wanted to do hello Mr. / Ms. Plus p dot first plus whatever I wanted to say. I can't believe you are plus p dot age. P dot color is my favorite color too. Okay, so then I would have greet person X. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Jeff. I can't believe you're 20. Blue is my favorite color too. So the point of this example is if we decide how the object is going to be laid out, what are the names of these parts of the object, then we create some functions to deal with the object, and then the main program looks nice and simple. So these functions each have sort of a specific purpose to do something with the object, and then our main program is nice and simple. And if we wanted to do something else with the object later on, we could use the same kind of structure. Let me go back over to our notes about objects. So we create them with the curly braces in an assignment. These pairs are called names and values. So this is a name, this is a value. So basically we're keeping some data in the object that is accessed with first. Those are called properties. So we have properties are the data items, and we can access with dot or with square brackets. So something that we can do is we can also have functions inside of here. So I can have a function called who am I, and this would be a function, and I have to look this up. Okay, so return this, let's see, this dot first plus this dot last. And just to give a demonstration, let's just run this to make sure. An error says there's Jeff Kinney. All right, so this gets into more of the next sort of use of objects in making programming nice and organized is you can not only have data, but you can have functions or methods that are inside of there. So we have here this who am I is not just some data, a string or a number, it's an actual function you can run. So it's a function, it doesn't have a name because this is going to be the name. There's no parameters to the function. I could have parameters, but then when they do x.whoami, it actually runs this code. And there's a thing called there's a special thing called this that means me. So my first and my last. Right, so that's not something that I'm going to expect people in this class to be able to do anything with, but that would be the next step, is you have data items and you also have functions that are called methods. All right, let's look at one other example. We'll do point.js. So I'm going to expect this to be run like this. Let's see. So I'm going to expect somebody to say x1, x2, y1, y2, and it should output the distance from x1, y1. Let's see, we'll do it like this. x1, y1, x2, y2. So if v.length, if it is less than 6, then there's not enough. And you would have some usage statement. All right, so for this one, I want to make point, and there will be an x and a y, and I'll just create a point like this. So we're going to have an x is x, and a y is y. So then in my main I'll have var let's say p1 equals make point parse float, or we could put the parse float inside of here. So whatever gets passed in, and then I just need to get this out of my arguments. So process.argv bracket. So this is supposed to be x1, that'd be bracket 2, process.argv bracket 3 for the next. And then I want to do another point, call it P2, and then those would just be the next items in the process.argv. So this is nice. I have this code here to make the x and the y, it does the parse floats. I only have to do this code once, and then I can reuse it. Now I want to do a distance function. So I can do a distance from P1 to P2. So the distance formula is math.square root, and then I need to have the difference of the x's and the difference of the y's. It's just the equation. So let's see. Alright, so we have the difference in the y's. This would be p1.x minus p2.x, and that's supposed to be squared. We'll use, we'll just do it by multiplying it by itself. And then the same thing for the y's. Okay, and then we have our distance is plus distance P1, P2. Point, and then we'd say, let's say 0, 0 to 1, 1. That's the square root of 2, as it should be. You could do some other tests, but let's just say that works. All right, let's take a look at it again. Maybe you just want to pause for a second. So the nice thing here is we have this thing called a point that we know is going to have an x and a y. We have one piece of code to create a point. We don't have to type it twice, so we call the function twice. And then our distance is from one point to another, so I don't have to specify out. It's nicer if I didn't have this, I would have to do, so this is instead of something like function distance x1, x2, y1, or let's see, x1, y1, x2, y2, and so on. Alright, so it's a little shorter and nicer and easier to read if you have the point there. There's our other example. So the things that we're supposed to know about objects: you create with curly braces and name value pairs. You access the properties with a dot or a square brackets. And that's it. You can change the properties, or you can just use them. And the reason that we have to talk about objects is because that ends up being used a lot. We've already used quite a bit of this already. If we look at the math here, math is actually an object, and square root is a function, a method inside of the math object. Process is actually an object, and argv is a variable inside of the process object. And then when we get into doing programming in the web page, there will be other built-in objects that we get to use, and usually we do this with a dot. There will be some named values that we get to with the dot. Alright, so that's it for this one. Objects. Yeah, there's a note here that says there's a lot more that we can do with objects. the whole point of objects is object-oriented programming, which is a nice way to organize the code. You'll do that in a later class.